Welcome to a new edition of the And One with EJ podcast. I'm your host, Ernest EJ Christian. You may not remember who I am because it's been quite a long time since I've done a podcast on this feed, on the Huddle podcast feed. In fact, I think the last time I recorded a show was actually opening night of the NBA season, and since then I have been incognito. Well, that's kind of a lie actually, because I obviously appear on the other podcast, the Tuesday live shows during football season every week. And for the record, I was on every episode this year that was available, so I can brag about that. However, and I have to, I may pat myself on the back for that, but I have to knock myself for this. I was not, I have not held on the bargain on this podcast in checking in. I even said on the last show that it may not be every week. I may check every 2 weeks or a month. I haven't done either. It's been now, November, December, January, February, 4.5 months, maybe almost 5 months, since my voice on this podcast has been heard. And for that, and I know I did this on the last episode I recorded. I know I apologized on the last episode. But I feel like I gotta apologize again. So, from the bottom of my heart, guys, I apologize. I apologize to you. I apologize to Big Jim also too. But mostly to the listeners, the followers, the fans, all that stuff. But we are going to try to keep this going, moving forward as a weekly thing. The schedule, like I said, a lot of things came into place for that. The schedule was an issue, number one. I have a lot of things going on in my life, not just personally, but also even podcasting wise. I have my own shows I do. By the way, if you don't know my other work I do, I have my own podcast, Ernest Speaking Podcast, which is a variety show. We obviously talk sports there as well too, but we talk about life and anything. We talk about pop culture and politics and anything, music, you name it. Just anything's on my mind. It's basically my show about the things I care about. I have our Unfiltered podcast, which is a time-sensitive, topic-centric show I do in the moment. If there's a breaking news thing here, I'll talk about it there. Then I have a wrestling podcast that's focused on old school wrestling talk called the Wrestling Retrospective. That show I've been doing consistently pretty much for the last 7 months, 8 months. Very proud of that. Although the last month or so has been kind of spotty because I've had some health issues too, also as of late, which that's behind me now. So that's one of the other reasons why I haven't done this show too as well. So this has kind of been not a priority, and I feel bad because when you think about it, this podcast should be the easiest to do of the bunch because number one, it's weekly. Number two, this is literally purposely made. We purposely made these shows a bite-sized show. In other words, this show, what we consider a long episode on this podcast is 30 minutes. That's considered long because the average time in the show is about 15, 20 minutes tops. And you see episodes here that's gone 10 minutes. Some a hair out of that. So it should be easy to do this show without issue. But again, sometimes you need kick in the ass. And I think, Big Jim, to his credit, has kept asking me, and I told him I'll get to it. I get to it. And I think I don't know. I think it kind of hit me the last 24, 48 hours. You know what? I miss basketball talk. I do it on my podcast a lot. But I think what I love about this show is that this is also topic-centric, also in the moment as well, too. With my podcast, we do talk about basketball, but I don't like that to be only sports. I like to open that show up to everything a lot more than just that, and open conversation. So I at least with this show, I have the opportunity to throw all my basketball thoughts and all my basketball, stuff into this thing. So we're going to do that. So again, folks, I apologize for being off the grid for at least for this podcast, for the last 4.5, 5 months. But we're back, and we're going to try to keep this weekly. And we should, because the playoffs are not very far away. We're actually now in mid-March. By the way, shout out to my cousin Cecil, who turns 47 today? I think 47 today. And his birthday. So, we recorded on March 16th, by the way, March 16th, 2024. And it's, playoffs are on the corner. We have March Madness starting next week, but then after that, the playoffs start literally in a month. So things are heightening up in the NBA. So there's a lot to get to, and there's a lot to talk about, and there'll be a lot to talk about in the next couple months because of the playoffs and the run to the playoffs. First take here, I'm going to call it, the Celtics. Obviously, the best record in basketball by far. They are easily, they're going to be number one seed in the East. I think they have right now, as we speak, a 8-9 game lead in the conference in the East. They're going to be the number one seed in the East, obviously, when it's all said and done, barring a catastrophe, which I don't see happening. And they've been consistent. They've been the best team from wire to wire so far. And I don't see that changing. In fact, I'm checking the standings right now. They have a 9.5 game lead with Milwaukee right now in the standings. We'll talk about the standings in a second. By the way, they clinched it. They're the first team in the league to clinch a playoff spot last night. Or was it Thursday night, whatever it was. They're the only team now that is officially clinched a playoff spot for this year. My larger point about the Celtics is this. It feels like in many years you have that, okay, well, the Celtics are good, and you have the second team here, and there's always a second team that's kind of competing. They feel like it's on level. It doesn't feel that way this year, actually. You watch the Eastern Conference. It feels like it's Celtics or bust. Like, you have the Cavs. You have obviously the Bucks, the Cavs. The Heat can turn on when they want to. You saw it happen last year in the playoffs. The Knicks are kind of frisky. Philadelphia was really good for a while, then Joel Embiid went down. We'll discuss that in a second. It feels like more than any year for Boston, especially because of they've been, for all intents and purposes, for the last 7 years, the consistent one of the best teams in the East from year to year, if not the best, certainly top two. They've gone to 5 conference finals in 7 years, 1 NBA finals. But this is arguably the best team they've had. Certainly the best roster. I mean, you got Brown and Tatum, obviously, probably arguably the best tandem in basketball. That'd be top 3. I mean, you have to give them that love, especially the fact they've done what they've done in the last 7 years. And then, everything they've done. And then you add a Drew Holiday. You add a Kristaps Porzingis, when healthy, a phenomenal player. This is a really good roster. And it's showing itself to be this year. The record shows for itself. They've won some big games this week, especially. They didn't beat Denver. They lost to Denver twice this year, but they've beaten Phoenix. They've beaten a lot of the top teams. So it behooves you to say that it just feels like it's Boston or bust. Milwaukee's had some struggles. They're playing better now, but it has some struggles most of the year. It's got Doc Rivers. See how that plays out with the weeks come. There's really it doesn't feel like there's a team right now that I feel, at least right now, that's going to challenge the Celtics. Like, I feel like this is what I'll say. And this may stun some people here, but follow me here. I think it's more like, based on what we've seen this year, and based on the environment we see around both these teams, I think it's more likely the Celtics will play in the NBA Finals for the East than Denver Nuggets plays for the Finals in the West because of the environment. Now, I'm not saying Denver won't get there. In fact, I think Denver's the favorite to not only win the West, I think they're still my favorite to win it all. They've beaten Boston twice this year. So they have that. But I think the trek to the finals, based on what we've seen this year, is tougher for the Celtics than it is, tougher for the Nuggets rather than it is for the Celtics. So right now, I feel like it's like Boston or bust in the East. I don't see a clear second team in the East right now. And it's disappointing too, because my next take here, and the Sixers, again, they were the team that we thought, maybe they're going to challenge the Celtics. We saw when they trade James Harden early in the year. Joel Embiid was phenomenal. Joel Embiid, the defending MVP, was on his way to repeating as MVP. He was the leader in the clubhouse for MVP. He gets hurt, the team falls apart. In fact, you could argue him not being there as well too only adds to this case. But again, he can't win MVP when the new rule, you got to play 65 games or more to qualify for awards. Which I love the rule. I'm not sure like the number is a little more the question mark. Is it should be 60, whatever. But the rule itself, I believe, I think it's good. I like the rule. And here's my question now, because right now the Sixers are now falling out of the playoffs. They're now they're now in the play-in situation. So the begs the question now: will we see Joel Embiid this year? Will we see him play basketball again this year? That's the question going forward. And we've heard nothing. He gets hurt. They say he'll be out 2 months probably. Maybe April is back. But we haven't heard anything of that nature concerning Joel Embiid, whether or not he'll come back or not. And I don't know. We've heard nothing. It's been dead silent. There's been no updates. Nothing I've heard. I mean, I've even checked on some of the Philadelphia, local news, and nothing from that aspect of Joel Embiid coming back. I don't know. There's been nothing being said. So I don't know. And with the way things are playing out now with the Sixers now, because right now they're in the play-in situation. I believe number 7 or 8 in the play-in. I think, do you bring him back? Is it worth bringing him back? Because they're falling apart. You know what I mean? They're falling apart. So I think, if you're the Sixers, it may not be the worst idea to not bring him back. Honestly, I would keep him out. Now, the competitor in me, of course, want to say, well, bring him back anyway because, let him play. Let him play. If they're in position to go to the playoffs and they can turn around between now and, and the sort of playoffs, bring him back. But the thing is, first off, you don't know when to get him back. And because there's been dead silence, it can go either way. So that's a storyline to watch going forward as you near April and near the playoffs. So it's something to look at. It's about Boston and who's challenging them in the East. The same question goes in the West. Like, Denver is the clear-cut number one team, in my opinion, in the West. They are now officially number one seed in the West. I mean, obviously, it's a fourth-man race between them, the Clippers, the Thunder, and the Timberwolves. But I'm not even talking about the standings. Forget the standings. I want to know who is this team that you feel most confident in to be the number 2 team in the West. I think it's still more open to people credit for. Like, so if I had to do this in tiers. Tier 1, Denver. Boom. Best team in the West. Then you have Tier 2, which is like, who's the challenger? Like, to me, it's the Clippers when healthy. Now, Kawhi got hurt a couple days ago, so how that plays out. Russell Westbrook got hurt a couple weeks ago. He's out probably till April, I think. And is the Clippers still healthy when it's time to come? People say, oh, well, what the Thunder and the Wolves, the Timberwolves? Well, yeah, I mean, the Thunder are really, really good. Can they sustain this? I've seen some signs of things that, even as young as they are, as good as they've been this year, they can still lose to the wrong team in the West. In fact, I said this. I did a YouTube short last week on my YouTube page. You check it out at youtube.com/Ernest Christian. I said that if they were to draw the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs, hypothetically, based on the seedings, if the Lakers somehow get into the playoffs, because they're going to be able to play-in team anyway, I believe the Lakers could take them win that series 6-7 games because of experience and whatnot. So that's another team that's like, okay, maybe, but and the Timberwolves too also. Now the Timberwolves do match up well with the Nuggets. They gave them some fits last year in the first round of playoffs, but then again, playoffs is a different story. Karl-Anthony Towns, who's had a great year, he's out for indefinitely. We don't know how he's come back. Then you have the Suns, which a team I don't trust, but they have Kevin Durant and their Booker, and they can score, combined 80 points a game if they need to. If they get even a little bit of help off the bench, maybe they're dangerous. You have Dallas, Doncic, and Kyrie, of course. They those two are similar to Durant and Book. They can score when they need to. You got Sacramento, who's obviously young, kind of like the Thunder, this year's Thunder. But they're always a team that could push a series. The Pelicans have been quiet. The Pelicans have been very quiet. So there's all these options here when it comes to who can do what. And I think the number 2 team in the West, like if you had to ask me right now, gun to my head. Like under my head, I'd probably have to say the Clippers. But again, that comes with a bit of an asterisk because of the injury situation. If they're healthy, yeah, then all bets are off. But I think it's clear to me right now, for the sake of argument, being honest, that your 2 best teams in each conference are Denver and Boston. And I don't know if they're really the clear-cut number 2 yet in the West who can challenge them. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And you look at the playing situation now in the Western Conference. That's actually just as interesting as the entire standings, because you're going to have, I mean, right now you have, like, the 7th spot thing right now is Phoenix, I think. But I think them and the Kings are tied right now. You know? And then you have the Suns, the Mavericks, the Lakers, and the Warriors. And at least the bottom 3 teams there, the 3 teams, like the Mavericks, the Lakers, and the Warriors, are likely to be in the play-in going forward. The only 3 games back of the 6th spot, but the likelihood of them getting out of that spot is very low. So you have that. It's gonna be an interesting situation going forward. The standings are very, very interesting going forward, and we'll see how that plays out. All right, finally, before I get out of here, the battle for MVP. It's really a 2-man race. It really is. It's Nikola Jokic, who's the reigning best player in basketball, and it's SGA Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City. Like I said last week, not on this show, but on my other podcasts and I've been saying on social media, that if I had to vote right now, I would vote SGA because, and at the time he was number 1 in the West too. Also, that helped too. Also, the winning, and he's been special, and they're winning games on top of that. But now I'm going back and forth. Now I think it's neck and neck. Like now, there's no bad answer. Like I would go Jokic too. Also, like it's neck and neck right now. Jokic, you can make an argument, has had a phenomenal year. He's been, he's had a phenomenal year anyway. But he also had stretches when he didn't have Jamal Murray either, and they're still sustaining this. So that's the argument for Jokic. Like today, if I had to vote today, I might go Jokic actually by a smidge. But again, this thing is nip and tuck. We got another 4 or 5 weeks of basketball ahead of us before we can decide that. But what is clear is that this is a 2-man race. This is between 2 guys. I know people saying, well, what about Jason Tatum and what about Doncic? And if you want to do a top 5 list and throw them in the top 5, no problem. But tier 1, there's only 2 guys that we're having a conversation about right now. There's only two guys right now that are serious contenders for MVP. It's Nikola Jokic in Denver. It's SGA in OKC. That is it. Tatum number 3. Go ahead. You get Tatum number 3. I'm fine with that. But I think those 2 guys I mentioned have been special this year. So those are the 2 guys. All right. So okay, that will be it for now. Maybe I'll probably do another one of these in the next 5-6 days. My kids are home for spring break though, so we'll see how that schedule works out. But I'm going to try to stay consistent with this now, going for every week. And guys, again, I apologize for the time off of the show, but now with playoffs coming up soon, and I'm really enjoying doing the show, and it should be easy to do it. We'll see how things go in the weeks to come, but I believe I will be able to stay consistent with this going forward. So again, follow me on Twitter /X at EJChristian7. Guys, check out all my work, my link tree at Ernest Christian, all my work, all my podcasts, my blog at earnestspeaking.substack.com, and my, actually most importantly, if you honestly, my YouTube page at youtube.com/@ErnestChristian. All my content's there, especially. I do videos every day now. I do YouTube shorts every day. Everything I talk about whatever I want to talk about, clips of the shows, all that good stuff. All right, so we'll talk soon. God bless y'all. Enjoy the rest of your St. Patty's weekend, and we will talk to you guys soon. Later.